Hey y'all, hi, welcome. I'm Hannah and this is my YouTube channel about beauty and fashion. I'm interested in what underlies the desire for beautiful things, and I'm always thinking out loud about how to find balance as a consumer. In that vein, I've recently become fascinated by the idea of the guilty pleasure, and I've gone around annoying all my friends and family by asking them what their guilty pleasure is. A great conversation starter, by the way. So I've been asking myself and other people questions about the guilty pleasure, the famous guilty pleasure. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to share two of my guilty pleasures. And for each of them, I'm going to talk first about why I consider it to be a guilty pleasure. And then for each one, I'm going to talk about how I make it okay for myself, like how I contextualize this kind of consumerism as I continue to work towards a healthy relationship with stuff. If you like this, I hope you'll subscribe, unless you're already subscribed, in which case, thank you. And now, let us go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Okay, number one, my first guilty pleasure, Le Labo. Brief overview, Le Labo is a perfumery or a scent house that makes exquisitely scented products, makers of the famous Santal 33. I have actually been following their career since long before they got famous, not to brag, but before Santal 33 became like the perfume of the year or the perfume of the decade, kind of. Before Beyonce burned the Santal candles in a music video. Actually, I think back before they had even branched out into candles when they were just carrying perfumes. I used to order tiny little samples of a couple of the scents and always have them on hand. My favorites were Vanille 44, which is actually the Paris exclusive, and Santal 33 back in the day. I had itty bitty bottles of each one, like just little sample sprayers, and I would wear them when I was going to go out dancing tango. If I was planning to dance all night in the following role, I would wear Vanille 44, and I would wear Santal 33 if I was planning to spend the evening leading. A little bit of personal history for you there. And you know, Le Labo has grown a lot since then, and so have I, but I still love their scents more than any other scents on the market. So why is this a guilty pleasure for me? It's because of the price point and because of the relative frivolousness of this category of goods. Scent is a luxury. Home scents, perfumes, scented body products, they're not even at the foundation of the self-care hierarchy of needs, right? They're like way up at the tippy top. Way less necessary than makeup, clothing, skincare. Scent is always just the cherry on top. It's something that adds to one's quality of life but isn't remotely required. Let alone scent at this price point. $80 a candle, $35 or $45 for a bottle of shower gel, depending on which size of bottle you buy. $220 for less than 2 ounces of perfume, $100 for half an ounce. Not only are these products wildly expensive, but they're consumable goods. Unlike a luxury sweater, for example, which you buy once, and if it's made well enough, you wear it forever. A luxury perfume, you buy it once and then you use it up, and if you don't use it up within a certain amount of time, it goes bad. A shower gel is something that you buy and then use up, buy and then use up over and over again, maybe even on like a monthly or bi-monthly basis, depending on how much you use. So consumable goods at this price point, they're just out of my economic league. Objectively, I don't make enough money to be a Le Labo customer. You might even say I have no business buying an $80 candle or a $40 shower gel. All things being equal and neutral, it's like I'm shopping above my station when I go there. And that is what makes it a guilty pleasure. So why do I do it? Why do I buy Le Labo products? It's because I love the scents more than any other scents. I'm picky about scent, and it's just absolutely nothing holds a candle to Le Labo. I'm specifically enamored of the Cèdre 11 home scent, so the cedar candle, and the Hinoki shower gel. Both of them have that like addictive, woodsy, earthy, kind of spicy scent that I just want to smell and smell and smell forever. And even though scent is a luxury rather than a necessity, it's really powerful. And when you smell something that you feel that way about, like you just want to keep smelling it and smelling it forever, it can be hard to resist. I'm deeply compelled by the way that Le Labo scents specifically add quality to my life. So once in a while, I buy them. So the question of the hour, how do I make it okay for myself? How do I make it work? And the answer for this one is that I don't go overboard and I accept going without this particular pleasure for periods of time in my life, sometimes long periods of time. So I bought a Cedre 11 candle for myself sometime last fall, spending 82 whole dollars. I bought it at Nordstrom's and I burned it for a few months. So I didn't burn it every day. And when I did burn it, I tried not to let it go for too long so that I didn't use up the burn hours too fast. One of the great things about luxury scents, about high-end scents, is that they tend to be strong. The candles tend to be strong. So with this candle, I could burn it for, 45 minutes or an hour in the evening and fill the house with that scent. And that was enough. After I snuffed the candle, I would still feel that the house had been scented by the candle for the rest of the evening. So when I had it, I made it last. And then, and this is key for me, when it ran out, when I burned it up, I didn't give in to the impulse to go out and replace it immediately. I think about it from time to time. I might buy another one later this year. I think I'm kind of thinking of it as a once a year treat. Because of all of the aforementioned factors, it was a guilty pleasure when I bought it last year. It'll be a guilty pleasure again when I buy it this year. But right now, I don't have it, and that's okay. I have a similar strategy with my other current Le Labo favorite, the Hinoki shower gel. I only ever use a little bit at a time, and this is really important, it's not my only shower gel. It's never my only soap in the shower. I have a much bigger bottle of another much less expensive shower gel in the shower, and on most days I use that on my whole body, and then I'll use like a teeny little bit, like a dime-sized amount of the Le Labo Hinoki shower gel, just on my shoulders or maybe my underarms, like maybe I'll use it to shave my underarms. And I'll do that right at the end of the shower, and I'll do it up here so that the scent will linger where I can smell it long after my shower. And it keeps making me feel cozy for the rest of the day, or if I'm showering at night as I'm falling asleep that night. That's where the value is for me. If it's a special occasion, if I'm going to a party or if I'm going out dancing, I'll wear more. And again, it's strong, so it's almost as if it's my perfume for the evening, but very close to the skin. So lovely. But I don't use it regularly and I don't use it lavishly. And in that way, I'm making it last. I've had my current, I think, 8-ounce bottle. It's not the teeny tiny bottle, but the smaller of the two full-sized bottles. I've had it since December and it's not even half empty yet. So if I can make it last for more months, that'll be $35 worth of Le Labo shower gel spread out over 8 months. That means I'll have spent about $4 a month to have that special product in my shower. And now we're talking, right? That's bringing it close to something that does work with my budget. The perfumes, as much as I love them and as much as I have history with them, I haven't owned one in years. And I've never actually owned a regular size bottle, like I think a 1/2 ounce, which is like the really small, the next step up from just a sample tube. That's the biggest size I've ever owned. And I just had Vanille 44 in that size for several years, actually. That was my signature scent. But never any larger bottle than that. And I sometimes think about going back to Vanille 44 or Thé Noir, which is my other favorite, I think, from them, getting one of those $94 bottles. It's such a beautiful choice for a signature scent or for an investment bottle of scent. And I may do that one day, but I'll do it at a time when I don't have other scent, like other bottles of perfume, vying for the main spot on my vanity. When I buy it, it will likely still be somewhat of a guilty pleasure, but I'll make it make sense by the infrequency with which I buy it and the way that I prioritize it when I have it. Before my no-buy year in 2018, before I changed my relationship with consumerism, I used to chain buy stuff like this. If I got one Le Labo candle and got used to having it, like loved it, once I burned it up, I would immediately go out and replace it, no matter how much it cost and no matter how much money I had or didn't have in my bank account. I think that I felt like after indulging once, it became a guilty pleasure that I just couldn't be without. And that feeling that I was a person who chain bought this guilty pleasure, that would just become an excuse to buy something else, like to buy another exciting thing, because that anticipation of the purchase and making of the purchase, it was that to which I was addicted. I always had to have my signature scent and my special stuff well stocked and in constant use, no matter how much it cost, and even though it was beyond my means. And at that time, I would say I had a destructive relationship with the idea of the guilty pleasure. But recently, when I started musing on the idea of the guilty pleasure, I realized that now, by spreading out the use of such things and by just letting it be okay to go months, sometimes even years, without owning them, even though I think of them as my special things, my special favorites, I'm making it make sense with my situation. And even though I might call it a guilty pleasure when I do buy it or when I do own and use it, I don't actually have to feel that guilty about it. And that, not really actually feeling guilty about it, makes it much more enjoyable to own and use these things than it ever was before. Okay, guilty pleasure of mine. Example number 2, Skims Cotton Rib. So Skims is Kim Kardashian's clothing line, which has shapewear at its core, but consists mostly of underwear and loungewear. I'm not a Skims wearer at large. I don't like synthetic fabrics, which most of the Skims collections are, and none of the underwear works for me because I need a really high-waisted, totally full coverage brief. It's the only kind of underwear that doesn't just bunch up on me, and Skims doesn't carry anything in that silhouette. I actually tried the boy shorts one time because they looked like they might work, and no, they just rode right up, bunched up and rode right up in there. So a lot of Skims, for a variety of reasons, a lot of Skims, almost all of it, is off the table for me. I just don't even want it. But there is one Skims collection that I love, and that is the Cotton Rib line. I'm a sucker for ribbed fabric. I'm a sucker for a great fabric. And these are like beautiful, sturdy, but very stretchy, very soft. They come in sophisticated colors. They have soft, elastic waistbands. They wash and wear with longevity as long as you don't put them in the dryer. So I wash them in the washing machine, hang dry, and they're like the day they were born forever. They are, simply put, my favorite sleepwear and loungewear of all time, except maybe with the exception of Print Fresh, which is tops for robes and like fun, crisp cotton pajamas for sure. But when it comes to this other type of sleepwear, this kind of like minimalist, cozy bodycon sleepwear, for me, nothing tops Skims Cotton Rib. So why is it a guilty pleasure? I actually am going to go ahead and take Kim Kardashian and the Kardashian empire off the table for this. That might surprise you. I think for a lot of people, the fact that it's Kim Kardashian's brand, that would be like the only reason that you need to have it feel like a guilty pleasure. I just am not really clued into pop culture. I don't read the mags. I don't watch the shows. I've never watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I think at this point I could recognize Kim if I saw her on the street. I could probably recognize Kylie, but none of the other ones. Like, I genuinely don't know what they look like. And I just don't have any of my emotional life, and not even really any of my intellect, invested in the question of whether the Kardashians are evil. From what I can tell, Kim is a complicated person. Maybe one day there will be a spectacular biography of her, and then I'll read it and I'll know more. But for now, I just don't consume enough of the kind of media that would get me enough information to be informed enough to feel guilty about buying Skims just because it's Kim Kardashian's brand. So that's not the reason. The reason that it's a guilty pleasure for me is more general. It's partly price point again, and it's also it's not the kind of brand that I love to support. Not because it's a Kardashian brand, but because it's not slow fashion. Skims is a mainstream, large-scale manufacturing company that, as far as I can tell, doesn't really have a code of ethics around manufacturing. They do one thing beautifully in terms of ethics, which is to offer an inclusive array of sizes and to show a stunning diversity of models on the website. I absolutely love that, and I feel like in a little bit of a sense, they're one of the spearheads for that and tens across the board for that. But it kind of stops there. And for me, if I'm not buying secondhand, I prefer to buy this kind of thing from a brand that is at least trying for some degree of ethical manufacturing. I'm not militant about that, but it's my preference, and it's something that I definitely think about. And when I buy from a brand that doesn't fit that definition, it always feels like a bit of a guilty pleasure. However, it's also almost always because the brand in question is offering me something that's affordable for me in the way that not all slow fashion is. Better manufacturing almost always comes at a much higher price point. But that's not what's going on here. To add insult to injury, Skims isn't cheap. The pieces that I like specifically are the boxers, the cotton rib boxers, the cotton rib leggings, the cotton rib tank tops, and the cotton rib Henleys. And they cost $36, $54, $36, and $54 respectively. That means to get a full set of what I think of as summer pajamas from Skims, so one pair of boxers and one tank top, $72. And to get a full set of winter pajamas from Skims, the cotton rib leggings and the long sleeve cotton rib Henley, $108. I mean, similar to what I said about Le Labo, it's on the edge of being unreasonable for my economic status, for my personal budget. It's a bit easier that they're not consumables. That feels like a longer term investment than a candle that I'll burn up. But still, I'm used to paying more, like paying this amount for slow fashion. So really, it's the combination of the nature of the company, like the way in which I sort of mentally categorize this company. It's the combination of that with the price point that makes it a hard pill to swallow. So why do I do it? Why do I own and wear Skims Cotton Rib? It's just I absolutely love wearing them. I love how I feel in them. And because quality and longevity are maybe the most important considerations for me when it comes to my clothing purchases. I can overlook a lot and deal with a high price point if the quality of the item is very good and I know that I'll be wearing it for years and years and that owning it is going to keep me from feeling like going out and getting other things. If it can belong to my edited collection of fewer, nicer things. So how do I make it okay for myself? The answer is kind of similar to the Le Labo answer, but it manifests in a different way because it's clothing. But at the bottom line, the answer is moderation. I have been a Skims Cotton Rib fanatic for, I would say, over 3 years now. And in that time, I have collected 2 pairs of boxers, 2 tank tops, 2 pairs of leggings, and 1 Henley. That's 7 pieces spread over 3+ years. That breaks down to roughly 1 piece every 6 months. But I haven't ever bought just one thing. I've always grouped them together and bought the set. So really, I have made a purchase from Skims about once a year. And I have probably spent an average of $80 a year on Skims for the past 3 years. That's similar to my spending on the Le Labo candle, right? Buying 1 candle a year, around $80 a year, and stopping there. But like I've said, the Skims feel like an even better investment because of how long they last. And this is the second thing that makes it okay for me. I wear them all the time. I've definitely already gotten that minimalist requisite 30 wears or 30 or 40 wears out of my first Skims pieces because I wear them as soon as they're clean and I wash them once a week. My most recent acquisition, which was a long-sleeved black set, so that's the Henley, the black Henley and black leggings, which I bought sometime in the fall last year, maybe towards the end of last year. I've worn that with the same regularity throughout the winter, which means that I've already worn it, minimum 20 times. Now, 7 pieces is a lot. I'm actually really happy with my little Skims collection right now, and I might be done buying Skims. I might be done forever. I currently don't feel like going out and buying more Skims. And that's partly because none of it needs to be replaced. It all feels still perfect to me. And that's the thing. The thing that makes it make sense for me, even though it's a guilty pleasure, is that inside of my life, it's not disposable clothing. I'm not getting tired of these pieces or seeing them fall apart over time. I'm not compelled to replace them. I'm not compelled to buy similar things from other brands to upgrade from them because they feel like top tier to me. And even though I have been a Skims customer now for these 3 years, it's been, to me, very moderate. $80 a year. I haven't been pouring hundreds of dollars down the gullet of Skims every time I get my paycheck. I'm speaking from the experience of the kind of thing I used to do before my no-buy. When I was into a brand, when I had this kind of passion, it's just been a tiny little drop in their bucket once a year for 3 years. So it's the moderated way in which I've indulged in this pleasure, the quality of the product, and my willingness to stop now that I've had enough. Those are the factors that are making it work for me. So that's it. Those are two of my guilty pleasures, why they're guilty pleasures and how I make it work for me. And you know what I want to know in the comment section down below. What is your guilty pleasure? Spill the tea. I'm just dying to read these comments. You don't have to go into detail about how you make it make sense for yourself if you don't feel like it. You can just be like, my guilty pleasure is X, enter. What a fascinating concept in contemporary consumerism, right? The guilty pleasure. And it might not even be something that you consume. When I asked my friends and family, a lot of them, it was like shows that they like to watch, but they feel sort of ashamed if they watch them. You know what I mean? Or books that they like to read, but it's like for babies, like stuff like that. It might be something like that. It's just that for me, and I feel like actually maybe for a lot of you, maybe more than my friends and family, it might be stuff in the way that it is for me. So tell me your guilty pleasure. If you feel up for it, like the video. Again, if you're not subscribed and you want to be, please subscribe before you go. Thank you all so much for being here. Don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.